pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we ask for your blessing today. We ask for your guidance. We want to pause and just recognize who you are, how real you are, how powerful, and how important you are. So we recognize your position in relation to ours, and we ask for your guidance and blessing as we make decisions. In your name, amen.
Okay, Tony has informed me we have two sets of minutes to approve.
I sent an email out this morning of the minutes for the special meeting we had in October. If you do not get a chance to look at those and you want to look at this, I've got 4 or 5 copies here. Anybody need them?
We were
Or
all
did you
here.
get them?
Yeah.
Anybody need a copy to look at? Not hearing anything.
Matter of record.
Okay, so anyway, that's the special meeting of October 24th, which we discussed the quotes for replacement of servers and software for lease and purchase, et cetera, et cetera. And that's basically, it just says who was here and that we met to discuss that. Just a motion to approve. Motion and second.
Do we need two motions for this or can we do
Yes.
it in one?
Well, just do the minutes separately. We'll do this special meeting and then we'll do last month's actual meeting separately.
Okay. All
Motion to
those-
accept the special meetings minutes.
Second.
So,
Fred and Bob. All those in favor? Opposed? The regular meeting?
Motion to accept the regular meetings minutes from last month.
Second.
who was first?
Fred and Bob, both. On both. All those in favor of the motion? Approved. Opposed? Amen. Okay. Where do you want to go? Just want to go right?
You can just go right down the
I
line.
got
if you
Brad
want.
here.
Yeah, yeah, I'd go with Brad.
Brad, you're up here. When you're,
Good morning, everyone. So today I have asking for a couple of additionals, and I'll explain how these came about. So the first one I have is for the garage repair, and we knew the roof over our mechanics garage was getting rough, and so we took a look at it, and there was actually some holes in it, and it needs replaced. So we had the holes taken care of, so we knew at least get the money. But what we are wanting to do is, we didn't know this was coming, but we would like to get the money now so we can bid it out and have it ready by spring. So hopefully we can get on their schedule for spring to get it replaced. And this also does include the office roof also, because once we got looking, that's shingled and it's showing its age, it's rolling, it's curling. And where it meets the buildings and that, there's holes now. So this is for the mechanics garage and the office.
Did I see, were you budgeting something for next year for that, or is that something different?
No, that was something different. We didn't know this was coming until
Okay.
about a month or 2 months ago.
And that's 150,000?
Yes.
Okay.
You want to do these two separate, correct?
Yeah.
The two additional?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, all the additionals could be done as one if they are okay with yours.
We'll just do one at a time because the other one's going to take a little bit of explanation also.
And this comes out of the 1176?
Yeah, there's 3 altogether. I mean, if they want to do it separately, they can, or you can go ahead and discuss the second one. And if they understand that and they're okay with that, then all we would have is the building department. And we could just do them all as one.
Okay.
I'm
So yeah, is there any questions about the roof? The building was built, the original part was built in 1959, and that was added on to again in the early 70s. So
Will you go with like a metal roof or something like?
Yeah, it's not metal, it's the new, like that fiber,
Composite?
whatever you call that, yeah, that they put down that covers everything, and it's got the ridges in it. And it'll be, yeah.
We already got quotes, I assume. Or is this ballpark?
This is ballpark because when we had the guy come to look at the holes, he shot us, he just threw out an estimate. We said, oh, we're gonna have to bid it. So
All the
this is
audits.
just an estimate.
Did you,
Yeah, it's all
did
the
you
audits.
go, so
They'll explain.
something like this will go out and get like 3 bids and?
Yes.
Okay.
You'll get that.
And yeah, and that's kind of why we're wanting to do it now, so we can get it bid out for spring,
Okay.
hopefully. They're not gonna
So
be ready.
in all reality, it could be more, it could be less than the 150.
We went a little high.
Okay.
But there, yes, it could be. We don't know what, you know how that is with prices.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
Brad, you know how much is the square footage of it?
No, that's, I'm sorry, that's one thing I did not look at.
What's next?
What's next?
Is audits.
So the next one,
Like it's-
so I think you've all kind of been aware what it's like ordering dump trucks and that right now. You know, you could be 9 months to a year out. And when they have a slot, you need to jump on that slot when they have openings, because they're limited on how many openings they have to even purchase the truck. So we've been informed that there are openings right now that, you know, if we wait, the openings don't last long. People jump on it quick when there's an opening. And then to go along with, so what we would like to do is get the process started to buy another chassis, knowing that it won't be here till 9 months, 12 months from now, so it'll be next year. But when we order stuff, you know, we need to have money in the account just to even be able to order it, even though the money won't come out till next year. And then the other part of that is the one truck chassis we have now that actually came a little sooner than we thought. We would like to go ahead and equip that with the bed, the blade, and all the others, parts that go on that. And there again, to be able to bid it out, even though the money won't come out till next year, we got to have the money in the account this year. So that's what the 280 is for, the truck chassis and the equipment that goes on the one we already have.
So it's an additional for this year, but this one is budgeted, if I remember right,
Yeah, we had this budgeted
for next
for
year.
next year, but just to be able to get them bid out, so you've got to have the money in the account this year.
So Bree, does that, will that still show up as an expenditure for next year, even though we're doing an additional for the budget this year? Because it won't get spent until next year, right?
No, it's gonna be, they're doing the additional this year, but they're not gonna get the invoice until next year.
Yeah.
So there's no.
We have to do anything?
The additional this year.
What's that?
So if they're not gonna spend the money this year, you want to do the additional this year because it's not gonna be paid until next year.
But we got to have the money in the account just to be able to,
They gotta show that it's in there to be able to order the truck or they can't order it.
Well, we have we have the money though,
I
right?
think, is that what you
that's
said?
what
Rick?
we've always, yeah, that's what we've always been told.
But if you, the only way you could encumber is if you get the invoice dated this year.
Yeah,
This is why I've been telling departments not to do additionals, not to do transfers for things if they're not going to have the invoices this year. Because we only have 2 more pays this year.
2 or 3.
So
Yeah,
like the
three, I
latest department can turn invoices into me right now to hit 23's budget, I believe is December 6th. So if you don't have the invoice by December 6th, it's gonna hit 24's budget, so therefore this additional.
You'd have to do it again.
I mean,
I mean, technically, we have the money in the account. It's already
for next
there.
year.
Yeah, it's already there. This would be an additional to actually spend the money, and then the money doesn't get spent till next year, so I would say the money is considered there, right?
But if we get this bid out and done and they give us an invoice, I mean, we won't pay it till we receive the truck though,
Right,
but we could have the invoice this year. Does that make sense?
right.
So we need to have the money in the account this year to be able to get the invoice for this
If
year.
you're going to have it, but the thing is, when you do additional, like, so if they turn the additional, then I get on Gateway today, I put it in there. The state seems to add, we're adding money to a budget, so therefore you're going to spend it this year.
Which that's
So
not. gonna happen.
therefore it hurts your budget next year.
And honestly, the money's in the account. so
Yeah.
I don't think that's an issue at all.
No, the money's there, it's
Yeah.
just in next year's budget.
Yeah, so I don't think we need to do one for that.
But we wouldn't do a additional or transfer for that.
Yeah, 'cause
Right.
you've already budgeted for it next
for
year.
next year, but we want to order this year.
Yeah, I'd
Or
say,
bid it this
yeah, I'd say you can go ahead and do that.
You can order it.
Yeah, I'd say,
Be there in the line item when you go to pay.
We've got the same thing with Superior
year.
Court
Okay.
doing a transfer, same situation.
And you have to have the approval from the commissioners if you're spending over a certain amount. And you can get like, I guess, the blessing from council, yes, we're going to pay for it when it comes.
Yeah,
But
we,
as far as doing the additional or transfer, you don't have to do that until you're ready to pay for it.
So in that case, we wouldn't have to
You
do
wouldn't
that
have to
either
do
because it's
that.
already in the budget.
Yeah, you've already
Right.
gotten the approval. You
Yeah,
got
so-
it in the budget.
it's in the
Yeah.
budget already for next year, so I don't think.
even
you
though
need-
we're ordering it this year.
Yeah, I don't think you
Yeah,
need to
you're
do
not
anything.
gonna pay for it this year.
No, we won't pay for it this year,
Yeah,
but
so-
we'll order it this year.
Yeah.
Like Bree said, if we enter that into Gateway, the state will see it and expect that
Yeah.
to be spent now. Right, Bree?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, so I think you can go ahead and order it.
okay. So then would it be the same way for the roof?
So
Because we're not going to spend it next year. We're now, I mean, we don't have the money there this year. We're not going to spend it
But
next
you
year.
said that's not
So-
budgeted though, right?
No, you're correct. That was
Yeah,
not.
that's not budgeted. So,
That's correct.
yes, we will.
Okay, so for the truck, we don't have to,
So if you're not
It's still,
spending either one of these, I would say you guys don't approve the additionals,
Right.
then,
but we did not budget for the roof. 'Cause we
Well, the
didn't know.
but.
But the additional for the roof would be next year.
I've already talked to the commissioners about it.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the roof, you're gonna pay for next year too,
Yes.
so you don't have to do the additional in 24.
Yeah. You don't have
It's
to do
gotta
it
be
now.
in the year that you're gonna pay for it.
So we can go ahead and also with that, get the bids, get it ready to go.
Because you won't get an invoice till after the
Yeah,
first
we'll
year.
be cool after for sure.
So
And
then
then And then whatever bid
Easy.
whatever bid you accept, then we can actually have a hard and fast number.
Yeah,
So,
we'll just
Yeah,
zero
we'll
these
have to-
out and deal with it next year.
What else you got for us to throw out?
okay, hey, thanks. Sorry for wasting your time. There, I explained it to you.
no, that's,
Yeah, you did anything else you wanted to say?
We'll know next year now.
Let's see, right?
Yeah.
the
Good to see you,
1,500 for
Ralph.
the oil move, is that next year or this year? Do you have to finish off this year with some?
That's not you, that's for building.
Oh, sorry, building
Oh,
department, never
okay.
mind.
Okay,
Good to go.
all right, thanks. That was easy.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mark, here, discussing this, if you want to go ahead and call him up, we just do away with the additional if you want to. Back there. Mark, were you here for your additional to answer questions? Dennis, do you want Mark to?
Mark, please join us.
And I don't know if I emailed everybody on this one, but Corey, I think I emailed you on this one. And I'm, not to speak for Mark, but, he hit an animal with the county car and it was out of commission for a few months.
Couple months.
So he was using his own vehicle that had not been expected, so it depleted this account. But I'll let Mark continue that explanation on why he's seeking an
That's
additional.
as simple as what it is. The only thing we put wrong in here is we hit a deer, now we hit a dog. And that was about this time last year, and because it got into the radiator enough that it leaked, I couldn't drive it. It was just a plastic fascia we kept driving. The radiator ended up being back ordered and all the fun it takes to get things these days. It was out for, I think, nearly 8 weeks. I just instantly started driving my van thinking it'd be days, and it didn't. So after the 8 weeks, we put in for the mileage, and that was a lot of money. And that is exactly pretty much why I'm here today. And get it out pretty much in January, February, at the end of the year. Had I known, I probably should have paid some of it in December, but I wasn't, kept thinking I was gonna get it back, and then I didn't, so. By the time I put in for the mileage, it was January, so it came out of this year's budget. So that's where we're at.
And they had transferred,
And I actually do need
Whatever.
money to actually pay bills this year. So we actually have a bill right now we weren't able to pay. That's,
and Mark, you did confer with us on transfers
yeah. we tried to
leading up to
figure
this, and we couldn't transfer any more to accommodate that,
I
so
think we played with it a little bit and took as much from.
we did our
we
best
were
to
allowed
transfer. We were hoping we could make it through the year, but it just didn't work.
Didn't work, ended up having to get tires. And that didn't help. I was hoping to push that till they got bad enough that I was under planning and get tires not long ago, so that killed me. That's why I'm.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to
Too long to do it.
approve the additional.
Second.
John and Fred? Okay,
All those in favor of the additional appropriation for Mark?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
okay.
Appreciate it.
That's fine.
It's hard when we see you guys.
So do we not have that 911 then?
He did not get it in time, wasn't it? He's going to discuss
That today?
what to do.
Okay.
But it's going to be, probably the same thing.
It's like the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, the fund just can't.
If you want to accept those, you guys might discuss how you want that done.
Let's go ahead and knock those out.
Dan Mayor isn't on here. He needs to be somewhere.
Right, he's wanting overtime.
Well, he's going to,
I think it should be.
he needs to discuss
That fund can't hold it.
$68,000, something that they have to pay that they didn't budget for, and he wants to know if. so they-
Sheriff, would you like to join us?
ARPA, and we're not paid on that. He'll explain.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is reference an email I sent you guys. Just looking to see how we want to try and work this out for the 911 system. I was informed in September that our hardware and software for the 911, which is computer displays, it integrates the calls coming in to mapping for all 911 calls. It's end of life. It's well over 11 years old and it needs replaced because they will no longer service it. The software can't do any more with the software. So I emailed you guys a copy of it's not a quote, but an estimate of what it's going to be, $68,251.42. And I'm just trying to see how, when I come back in January, because this was not a budgeted item, how we want to pay for it. I could put an ARPA request. We cannot tap into what I've been told, the new lit 911. That's got to build for a year, so that's not an availability. The E911 fund itself, Bree's done running some numbers and stuff, and it only will show, we might have 17,500 after this year, so it's not enough to cover it.
Is that what that bonus end of the year?
We don't know that yet, so that is not, Bree, that did not include that, right? Yeah, because we don't know what that is.
What is usually, what, 50,000?
It's ranged from 16 up to 80,000. So, and we should be hearing that very soon, but we just don't know, so I didn't want to put it in this because it's not factual. If that comes in to be $80,000, then we will have that money in the fund to make the additional in January to pay for it. The only other thing I'd have is with the federal program with the prisoners, that has brought into county general this year alone, $386,845.26 as yesterday's date. So that is money that's just coming into county general that is unspoken for. But the sheriff's office has generated that money for county general. So we can make an additional county general for that amount too. But don't need an answer today. Just want you guys to think about it. And I'll be back in January to try and get an answer because I need to get this project rolling. But I couldn't get it done this year. Like I can't get an invoice this year. So I'm not going to do an additional request now, but we will have to do an additional or an ARPA request or something very beginning of next year.
Well, by then we actually have a quote to where we know what.
Well, I mean, this is the cost. And I will verify to make sure this has not changed when I do that, but there's no going to get three bids. It's this company and only this company that does it. So
I understand that.
whatever they tell me it's going to be, it's going to be, but I will verify to see if there's changes between now and January.
And projected 17 and then plus whatever that bonus end of the
Could
year.
be, yes, that'd be the excess in that fund at the end of the year.
So is that
Hopefully that works.
is the life expectancy then about 10 years roughly?
I would say, it's computer. I mean, so anything probably that's after 5 years, they could come back and say they're not gonna service anymore. But I apologize, this was not on my radar, didn't think about it. I assumed this was new equipment when we came into the new jail. It was not, it was equipment brought over from the old jail. So, that's why it's older than what I anticipated.
The E911 fund is up. Do you even have to come back?
Yes, because it was not budgeted, so we'll just have to ask for an additional out of that fund.
Okay.
But it was not budgeted for this, so I have to come back and get an addition.
And my guess is just looking at the historic of that E911, you know, it was trending way down. I mean, it was like 200 and it's down to like 4,900 right now, like 4,900. So that account is just going to keep going that way, but we fixed that with the
Lit
lit
911.
redistribution, but that's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a little bit for that account to build. So I would propose that it be an ARPA request. I think this fits a lot better there. Get us across that bridge, let that fund build, let it get back up to be sustainable. But I mean,
I
what you
will,
guys
I
think.
can do that request if that's what you prefer. I can get that started now for January. I can approach the commissioners with it and get their approval, and I can put it in and do it that way. If that's how you want me to move towards, I have no problem doing that.
I don't know what
I
you
think
guys
that
think.
makes sense. We'll just have to, one thing then I want to, I'd like to see us do going forward is just planning accordingly for its life expectancy and
Correct.
that we have funds there in 5 or 10 years or whatever it is.
Well, hopefully with
Because there won't be ARPA.
the
next
lit
time.
911, that will start building, and that would be a place to do that with.
But we just need to make sure that we're actually accumulating money in there to do it.
Correct. And speaking of that, I talked to Julie Marie, doesn't need to be today, but I want to put it in, we're going to need time to talk about personnel issue in 911. This year was a bad year. We had someone off for over 7 months. We had a pregnancy, we had some other things, and honestly, my people are burned out. They're working over. I can't get the shifts all covered. So we have dispatchers usually work from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. by themselves. And that's caused issue. I had one resigned over it. She was here less than a year and she just turned in resignation. Thursday's her last day. And I had an extensive exit interview with her. Shannon had an extensive exit interview with her. And I'd like to discuss some of these items with you when I'm on the schedule for this, because this is not something quick, but we need to probably try and do something. I want to get some more information about what other counties are doing. I mean, dispatchers have, what shifts are they working, to see if that matters. Right now, switching to an 8-hour shift is not even feasible with only having 8 employees. But I just put it on the radar. We have to talk about that because we run into another thing like that and I'm going to lose more people. It was just a bad year. We've never had this in my 5-year, 10-year, and I couldn't get shifts covered. And then they're working by themselves, which, just one example, they can't go to the bathroom. Right? They can't leave the room. There's a bathroom attached to the room, but they can't answer the phone. They can talk on the radio while they're going to the bathroom, but they can't answer 911 phone. So that's why it's imperative that we have to keep 2 people in that room at all times. But right now, if anybody takes a vacation, anybody's sick or something like that, I'm automatically filling overtime shifts or part-time people. And I haven't been able to. So again, not a full conversation today, but just get it on your mind. I'll get it back on the schedule to talk about this and see what other type of solutions, but I have to gather some more intel for you guys also.
I almost wonder if that would be a discussion with the commissioners first, because it may not really affect the budget at all if it's just a number of how many people. You know, if you've got people out, you know, you're not paying them when they're out. So the issue really isn't going to be money at that point. Like your budget probably won't change, just the number of people filling those same, you know, shifts. And, you know, is it 8 hours, 10 hours, you know, however that needs to be, it might not even affect us at all.
The conversation with them, it could be adding personnel.
But if they're not working, you know, what I mean, like this year you had how many people out for a while? You weren't paying them, so that.
Correct, but I couldn't find part-time people to do it.
When he's saying there were some shifts unfilled too, so
Yeah.
did not pay.
And even now, like that, even when we're full staff, if someone takes a vacation, I'm paying somebody else to come in and cover that. Either full-time person at overtime rate or part-time people, and I can't guarantee the part-time people to do it. But like I said, I don't have all my answers. Shannon and I are gonna look into things to see what our other options are. But I just want to put it on radar. As far as this, are you guys good with me starting to do an ARPA request as far as the 911 hardware software?
Yes.
Okay, I will start that process, get in front of the commissioners and bring it back to you, vice person here.
Sharon, just to give us a ballpark, what do you estimate the cost of that to be?
$69,000
$69,000?
would be the ballpark.
Thank you.
But I can, for my request, I will lock that in.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to be facetious, but is there any role for AI in 911?
Not that I've heard of, not that I've seen. Because as far as I know right now, AI, I don't know how well AI interfaces and de-escalation with people on the phone, things like that. My dispatchers have to go hot and cold on the phone. They actually will yell at people to get them to understand, and then they'll start doing CPR instructions over the phone. I don't see how AI is there yet, at least with the equipment that we have. But I have not even seen any type of advertising for that type of interface yet.
I don't think it is yet, honestly. I've been in a dispatch office before and for several years, and I know what some of the problems are you're talking about.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind talking to you about it, actually.
That'd be
Might-
great.
Might be able to give you some.
And just so you know, there's no resistance for me on the extra spending. My gut tells me though that when you run the numbers, if you have less overtime and less part-time and you replace that with full-time people, my guess is the numbers are gonna work out to really not even affect us, is what I'm saying. But I could be wrong, but I'm wondering.
Like I said, I need to get more information for you guys too, because I want to look into some studies as far as what other dispatch centers of similar sizes, what are their personnel, what shifts are they working? It does seem like more and more are going to the 12 hours. So, because I think you can run it with less people, but then when someone goes off, then that's when you run it. Because we were talking about even running somebody like a 10 to 10 and then let them float back and forth. But who wants to work 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. if you have a family? I mean, you find the right person, it might be great, but finding that person is hard. So I got to get more information before I come back to you or the commissioners, and I just want to bring up on radar. And I'll start the APR request, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
So that'll be the 6th, it's the first, it's the only one that's really 6.
Is that it for additionals?
What?
Is that it for additionals?
The only addition we ended up with was Mark's building department.
Right.
Yeah,
Looks like we have a bunch of transfers here, right?
we do have transfers and we'll have salary ordinance, but
Can we
I'm
just
down the line unless you want to do that now. It's up to
I was just
Dennis.
looking through this thing here, there's a bunch of,
Salary ordinance.
What'd you say, Fred?
that's fine.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me, it's up to you guys.
That's fine.
Otherwise, you can just write on to Julie Marie.
About salary ordinances, anybody any question on,
Salary ordinances were, it looks like a lot of replacement of people and stuff like that, is that right? Following the matrices and,
So you got the highway engineer starting,
highest, how many employees?
circuit court is a replacement jail. Part-time facility at the jail is technically like a new position because it was a full-time. He's full-time right now, but he wants to go part-time, so we're making a part-time position.
Okay.
Highway for Brad and Paul, that's just because if we're gonna hire an engineer, then their pay goes down, taking the engineer pay away from them. And then dispatch and communications were replacements.
And we'd already talked about the county engineer position. This just makes it formal, right?
For what?
We've already talked about the county engineer.
Yeah, I mean, it was budgeted for next year, so a salary ordinance will come to you guys in January for him as well. But right now, they have an effective date of 11/27, so we had to get a salary approved for this year, and then we're transferring to put money into the line item, because there was no money budgeted for this year.
But it's gonna be a transfer.
Yeah, it'll be a transfer on the transfer paper.
I don't have any other questions.
Any other questions on salary ordinance?
I had a question on remember a couple of years ago when we had the highway engineer request a higher pay. We wouldn't allow him even 98,000. He ended up with 93,000 and then he quit. But now we're asking 116,000 for this position. I'd like some.
I'm having a hard time hearing.
I'd like some clarification on the salary for the highway engineer. What his qualifications are, education, certifications, or anything that goes into this salary?
I believe he's a licensed engineer and qualified for engineering position. He's currently serving as an engineer for Wells County. And is able to stamp plans.
And there is a $40,000 reimbursement from the state. If you have a certified engineer, I have to send paperwork in. I don't know if we'll yet have time to get it in by the deadline this year, but we would get that for 24 for sure. And that kind of, the state knows that counties have trouble finding engineers, so the state wants to help them and give them 40,000 toward the engineer's salary. As far as where his pay arrived at,
Yeah, how did you arrive at that pay?
We negotiated that.
And these are market driven. And we had to correct ourselves at the county level several times over the last 3 years.
I know Stan did extensive research on surrounding counties on.
Several years ago when Tim Barkey left, and I apologize, not when he left, when he came in to renegotiate his salary with council, we had increased his pay, I think, to 87,000. And he wanted to renegotiate that salary, so I did a survey of 9 other counties. And multiple counties were without an engineer because they couldn't get them. They all went to private work, but of the ones that had county engineers, the average salary was 105,000 at that time. And like I said, that's probably been about 5 or 6 years ago, I suppose. So, so at that time, we raised Mr. Barkey's salary to, I think, 95,000. So since that time, that situation has just become more urgent to try and get engineers who are willing to work in government service rather than private service. But I haven't done any recent surveys, but that was a salary that we negotiated with them. So like Tony said, if we can get a pay stub down to the state by December 15th, then we will be eligible for a $40,000 reimbursement for fiscal year 23. And then that will also, follow in the years after that. And that's intended just towards the engineer's salary, because the state sees a real value in an engineer maintaining infrastructure.
And
It seems like it's in line with the market to me, honestly, but should also reduce some costs to the county in that whatever work that an engineer needs to do currently, excuse me, we have to hire it done privately, right?
that's expensive.
Which
Yeah,
ultimately,
there's several things that will happen. One of those is the reimbursement from the state. Another one is, those duties will fall away from the current highway engineer and assistant highway engineer. So that salary will be adjusted. And so the other thing is too, by having our own engineer, we won't have to contract out near as much engineering work. But another thing that's happened is NADA is very aggressive at seeking out grant. So, there's multiple ways that this is going to be. Plus, the other thing is too, and it's not as easy to quantify, but there have been projects that have not been pursued, no disrespect to Brad at all, but there have been projects, road and bridge projects that have not been pursued because we didn't have an engineer. So I think there's just multiple advantages here. So I'm just real excited to see this happen.
You know if he's a PE?
Yeah, he is.
Yes.
He is, and he has a master's degree too.
Okay, he's currently Wells County's engineer.
Yes.
So we need a motion to,
Salary ordinance.
accept the salary ordinances, right? Are you good, Dennis?
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion to accept, all the salary ordinances as presented.
Second.
Does that include the transfer?
We'll do the transfers here in a second. Who seconded
Yeah,
that?
second, Rex.
Rex.
Second.
Now, if you want to go ahead and do the transfers, because that's also related to that, and if there's any other questions in transfers, we can answer those as well.
We have a motion on the floor. You want to amend it?
I thought did you guys vote on that yet?
The.
On the salary ordinance?
Yeah, we just did.
Okay, they did.
Or wait, no, we didn't vote.
You got a motion, a second?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I was jumping the gun to the transfers.
Yeah.
What questions? I know Dennis had one on exam of records of what that was, and that is audits. We had 2 years of audits plus the federal audit. And does that also include some of the townships that we have to pay for and then they reimburse us, or is that just ours? All of them?
Yeah.
That's what exam of records is when you see it in there. It's all the audits. That's what that is. So we didn't know what that would be until we got it. So that,
I make a motion to accept all the transfers.
Good, Kathy.
Ed and Kathy?
All those in favor of the motion? Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. I got my stuff done.
Okay, we have approval of the 2024.
Well, you've got, do you want to do Julie Marie before that, or
I'm
do you
going
want to?
according to the agenda. Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, it doesn't matter. We can do meeting dates too if you want. I don't care how you,
Let's go.
I'm just,
No, that's fine. First of all, I'd like to have you consider proposed ordinance 2023-26. This would be an ordinance allowing the recorder's office to access $32,000 of the perpetuation fund for training, office supplies, and supplemental expenses. This is something that is not in their budget. However, by statute, they can access the perpetuation funds for supplementing things in their budget, and that is what the recorder has asked for 2024. So if you are inclined to grant that request, the transfer of $32,000 can be made from the perpetuation fund. So that is proposed ordinance 2023-26.
Those PERP funds aren't,
that can only be used for certain things in the recorder's office.
Yeah.
It has to be used
Correct.
for that.
it's almost not even budgeted income, correct?
Right.
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 I'll make a motion to, so.
Second.
Clerk also has a similar fund.
Yes. But she does, sorry.
And there's going to be 2 copies of this ordinance 2023-26 coming around. And 1 copy will be from my office, the other copy Julie Marie will take the third. So I'm assuming Kathy will have that over at the end at some point.
You voted on that one?
Did we vote on that?
No. What's the name?
Get a motion and second.
Okay.
All those in favor of the 2023-26? All those in favor? Opposed?
Next is proposed resolution number 2023-33. This would be the resolution adopting the ARPA request for Parks and Rec to spend $75,000 for vehicles, trailers, I believe mowers and things. This was something that was passed by commissioners and then subsequently by this body, I believe, in September. We have so many of these going on. This was my fault. I dropped the ball and I didn't have this prepared for issue and signature in October, but this had been previously passed. So I'm simply asking for formalization and adoption of resolution 2023-33 for the previously approved ARPA funds for the Parks and Rec Department.
And in your defense, it does get rather interesting with the speed that they come in to keep track of everything.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to accept the ordinance number that.
Resolution 2023-33.
Read, or the resolution that Julie just stated there.
So Fred and Bob,
All those in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Opposed? You don't have to.
The last one I have is, I just need to double check. Commissioners, you did in fact speak with the Monroe Police Department, and you are aware of their ARPA request. That has not formally come before you because your meeting is after hours. However, it's on the agenda, and it's my understanding that you have been informed of it. So I put to the council at this time proposed resolution 2023-34, which can be adopted conditional upon the commissioner's passage of that during their formal meeting. This is a request by the Monroe Police Department for $8,000 to do some upgrades to integrate the Monroe Police Department's dispatch system and servers and things so that they are on the same system as the rest of Adams County law enforcement. So if you would pass that, then we can adopt that as soon as their meeting.
if there are questions, AJ is out here.
Oh, hi, there you are.
So do we know, I mean, I've got no problem with this, honestly, but as with many of these IT projects, I'm curious, does this complete the project and make it whole?
As far as the town of Monroe is concerned, or as the Monroe Police Department, this would make us whole. I'm not sure the portion of what you guys are dealing with Geneva. I don't know the involvements of that portion of it. But for Monroe PD to get on the county server to be able to hook up with the rest of the police agencies in the county, it would complete us as far as your guys' involvement.
You'd be done and ready to roll.
The town of Monroe will take it from there.
Okay, it just internet connectivity.
This just gets internet to the building as far as like computer software and everything else like that. The town of Monroe in my budget is going to pay for all that, and we'll work with Mike Brown to get everything ordered as far as that goes.
All right, good
This
deal.
is just to get internet to the building so we can hook up to the
Okay.
servers.
I make a motion to accept that resolution.
I second.
Fred and Corey.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah.
Thank you. Lastly, I just want to bring to your attention the ARPA balance summary. We are starting to get pretty low in fund. There are several that are still pending that the commissioners need to first review before they will come to this body. So those can be addressed next month. But just so you are aware, we are now getting to the bottom of the barrel. So I think hard choices and decisions are going to have to start being made on that.
And
So
we
we're-
continue
we're-
to get requests too.
And we continue
Well,
to get requests.
From what we've allocated, just what we have allocated, what does that leave there right now? I've looked at the thing, but I'm not exactly sure where we stand, even
Okay.
after looking at it.
With what we have passed today, we now have approximately $1,007,000 left that has not been spent. We have outstanding requests possible request. You heard the sheriff say that he was going to be making a request. We received three requests from two different agencies yesterday. There are still pending some requests from Adams Central and the clerk's office, the digital imaging. I don't believe that there was ever a firm response with regards to that. So those are still out there for discussion and determination. So right now, it looks like we have approximately 1,200, 1,300, 1.3, 1.2 million in possible requests that are still out there for consideration. And we have approximately $1 million left unspent. So we're not going to be able to fulfill all the requests that are out there currently is the bottom line.
Sure.
Plus what will keep coming in.
Correct. This request can continue to come in until the end of 2024.
One thing when it comes to the ARPA that I just want to make sure we have on our purview or whatever to think about is, I think, Steve, I know you guys have been involved in this a little bit. As far as the clerk and their scanning, I know it's not been decided on yet, but it sounds like most counties have digitized their stuff, and it sounds like that would ultimately be our goal. We're just not exactly sure how we're going to do that yet. Is that, Commissioners, would that be accurate to say?
Well,
So-
we kind of looked at broadening the perspective a little bit. Initially, she came with the request and was investigating pretty much just ski. So what we asked her to do was broaden the picture a little bit and include not only her department, but all county departments. And not only for scanning, but also what do we do with paper records? You know, to get them out of the basement and burn them, to get them out of the basement. So we kind of broadened the scope and we kind of laid a little bit bigger of a burden and asked to oversee that burden. So I'm not sure how that's going to look as far as if she comes back with an amended request or how she. But yeah, a large part of that cost would be scanning the vision.
And there's indexing that goes with the scanning that gets expensive. My only point about bringing this up at all is I think it'd be nice to earmark some of that money for that, because I think that's a bigger number than people that go, it's just scanning. Well, there's a lot to scan, first of all. And what's even a bigger cost than that is probably indexing it. I don't know what it looks like, but I think it'd be good to earmark at least 500,000 for it. And hopefully, because otherwise we do that and it's coming out of our budget, our regular budget. So I think it'd be a good idea to keep some of that back for that. And obviously you don't have to hit that number on the head, but we need to consider that and these remaining requests that we do approve. All I'm getting at.
We've asked her to prioritize, and we've asked her to make sure that indexing is taken care of. Some of the records we can scan and destroy, some of the records we can scan, but keep paper records. Like those books over there in the cupboard.
Right.
But yeah, like the last bid she got, just to scan everything. Yeah. It was like, okay, it's like, no.
Yeah.
So, she's just kind of trying to put a little more perspective to it, prioritize.
But yeah, again, my point's just that I think it'd be a good idea to earmark some of that money for that project. So it's not entirely out of, because once this money's gone, it's, we're not paying for it with ARPA funds, we're paying with it out of our budget for it.
Right.
But at this point, we have asked her to oversee it.
Right. So just putting that out there, I think it'd be a good idea to do that if we could.
I agree, and I think that goes into the other point that really you've been saying for a year and a half or so, which is we need to have a way better capital development plan. And I think we all agree on that. We just got to figure out how do we make that plan? Who's going to do it? How's it going to work? And I think we got to use those CUME funds that's where they need to be. And so, I don't know, we just got to figure out where that stuff's going to start coming from, how much we're going to put into it, what we need it for, and get that mapped out. Because you're right, when this ARPA money's gone, it's basically been covering us on all that stuff for a little while. So I would kind of like to see as much of the rest of the ARPA money as we can go towards our own budget rather than everybody else's. That there might be good causes here and there, which, but they need to be private or they need to be other entities. I really don't want to get into the private thing. But outside of that, I mean, I think we should prioritize our own as much as we can.
I think we've got some department heads that are trying to
Three
use
of
those human funds
Transfer
for
and
orders. Use it recorded per fund to do the initial stance, and then he did come back and ask for money from our index. So, we kind of looked at that perspective too. And then we've got the treasurer's office, he's working, using his own personnel and his own equipment, just staying over there. So, I think we've got department heads that are trying to be efficient, effective, and so, we've got, well, hopefully with that.
And yeah, I agree, definitely agree with all that stuff. And yeah, to Corey's point too about the CUME funds, I think going forward, this is a little bit off topic, but when in the budgeting process, those CUME funds are for, so for example, we're talking about servers right now. We should, I believe that should be something that those CUME funds, I think right now we nickel and dime them a lot. I think it'd be good to set up in those CUME funds that stuff like servers, for example. We know that's going to be roughly a 5-year lifespan. Whether we pay for it every year or we pay for it all at once, it needs to be accounted for every year. And so we leave those CUME funds actually accumulate monies so we can take those expenses out of those and it's not really out of our normal budget. And as much as possible.
That will be another decision you all will have to make
At budget time and stuff like that.
on whether or not the full amount gets paid and you avoid the interest
Oh, right, yeah.
on what he got approved, or whether or not you do the interest and pay, because part of that was already, that amount was already budgeted. So when do we need to know that by, Bree? On the servers and stuff, whether or not they pay it all and avoid the interest? And they already had, what he got approved was already budgeted, so we're good. So the only discussion would be if they want to pay it all and avoid that $160,000 of interest. Would we need to know January?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say we almost need to know.
Because I know we've discussed that, and I don't know the immediacy of which we have to have a decision and how that needs to go and look.
I would say sooner than later. I don't know, Julie Marie, do you know when if they're gonna do it through the bond, then I don't know how soon they have to do that.
I don't know. I thought it was like a 30-day turnaround.
So I would say, yeah, they're gonna almost have to make a decision. If they don't make a decision today, then we're gonna be past the 30 days.
But he's got enough to pay the current bill with this year, what was budgeted for this year.
Oh, there, so we don't have to
So it would be the
appropriate anything
remaining-
else?
No, the reason, what Mark was asking for was permission from the council to bind the county to a bond agreement that would take place for repayment over the course of 5 years.
Yeah,
Because
which
the
we may or
county
may not
can't be
do,
bound
but-
unless you're agreeing to it prospectively.
Yeah.
So that's all he was wanting. We can handle that for now. Mike did send me an email. He said he can pay for what he's got with what he has in the budget right now. And he can do a small additional appropriation as necessary next month if there's additional needed, but the rest of it can be dealt with in January.
Okay, so actually,
Okay.
we're covered for this year.
You should be fine.
And
for
we've
this
already
year.
actually budgeted money for next year.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
I wanted to,
but we are accruing interest now, right?
The bond hasn't been taken out yet, so it's not actually being budgeted yet.
Okay,
It's not actually being incurred yet.
okay. So I don't want to wait, say, well, we've got a budget for next year, so let's not worry about it, because that means you are paying that interest the whole time.
Right, but I think next month, there shouldn't be an issue with addressing it next month.
Oh,
and
okay.
Getting some more clarification from Mike.
I wasn't sure if we decided to purchase one of these.
That decision was not made, as a matter of fact.
Is that a council decision?
Not necessarily. The council can either budget for it or they approved doing it by bond. So I think it's going to be a commissioner's decision as to how it gets
I
paid.
know if we purchase, Mark talked about investigating like the Indiana Bond Bank versus borrowing money through the company itself.
Correct.
And stuff like that. So I wasn't sure where we were at. as far as I.
The one
My
thing that-
last conversation with him, he was still looking into the best financial option, but I remember at the last meeting, you talked about potentially paying for it all up front out of one
Yeah,
source or
which would
another.
save us around, if I remember right, about 120,000 in interest.
Right, about
That's what Mark said.
120, 130. Mhm.
Yeah,
So
so
is that a decision that has to be made today to stay with the time frame?
I do not believe so, no, because that would be a commissioner's decision. They already have permission if it is going to be done by bond.
Because we discussed paying all of it up front for the bond or partial ARPA and partial financing and.
No, I don't think ARPA came into play at all with that particular
well,
expenditure.
we just haven't decided yet how we're going to pay for it. That's
Yeah.
still completely open, right? We decided we're going to fund it.
Some of us were talking. He will turn in the invoices he has, but,
So where's he
it's
paying
in the
those?
budget. Give me just 1 second and I'll look, because he did send me an email saying that he had it covered.
I thought it was
So
11:30.
he emailed on the 30th and said that they've got some of the equipment already. And we'll start seeing invoicing soon, and he will need to pay for those in December.
Mm-hmm.
You remember at council meeting, they were not expecting anything to write me until January of 24, so we had a while to make up our minds. So he said that council needs to make up their minds on where we're going to pay it, because he's gonna have to pay that stuff in December. So I think that's what we need to know, is
Is
where
that-
he needs to pay it from.
Where he needs to pay it from, okay.
Well, so, but did he have a different conversation with you, Julie?
He just sent me an email saying that, he thought that he could manage it, so, I will look for it and then I will, read that to you as soon as I can find it. I'm sorry, my computer's
Oh,
moving
that's right.
really slowly
But
today.
honestly, if we have money in the budget to pay for it out of the budget this year, I think that's what we should do.
Not the whole thing. He
Out of the
can
IT
pay
budget.
for the current,
Yeah, yeah, what's come in so far is what I'm
Mhm.
saying, yes,
right.
to cover this year.
But then the extra is what we have to figure out. Like what was the total? It's like,
765.
and we've got like 200 or something in the budget. Is that right?
Out of QCAP.
For next year.
For next year, yeah. So you got another 500 or so you got to deal with roughly.
Mhm.
And the question is, do we finance that so that it stays in his budget every year for a number of years, or we just pay that?
Right.
The difference, like the two something already. But
That
that's
would
the
be,
difference.
yes. So
I would propose we pay it, be done with it.
the scenario, I guess, what I'm thinking of is what's come in so far this year, sounds like he can potentially cover out of the budget, maybe with a small additional.
Mhm.
I personally think that's what we should do. Then next year, what remains, use up what's in the budget, which is 200 some thousand, I think. And then potentially pay for if we decide to pay for it all at once, potentially use the rest of it from ARPA. And then pay it all, and then save ourselves 120 to 130,000.
Yeah, then you're still gonna keep the $100,000 a year for that cume cap. And then if you do, will be, well, essentially $500,000 at the end of that. And
It could go toward a real cume cap, like real cume cap at that point, what we've been talking about. Yeah, I
We
agree.
just,
I think that's what you're saying, right?
yeah.
yeah, not take that line item and
Yeah.
out, keep it in there.
Exactly.
Yeah, keep funding that for future.
So we don't have to keep having all these additionals all the time for IT. I mean,
Out of QCAP for this year. And next year,
Well, the IT budget was probably out of Cume Cap, I'm assuming, but I mean, it's like, it sounds like he's got the money and in a line item, whether it's Cume Cap or wherever it's at, to pay for most, if not all of what comes in this year.
Okay, found the email. He said, what I can do to make this payment from my budget, I can pay most of it from Fund 1138. I have probably a little over $150,000 available there. I may be able to come up with the rest from the general fund budget for IT. This is one way we could get the invoice paid. Next year, I should have available another $150 from 1138 by mid-December 2023, when my 2024 budget becomes ready to use. Let's go with this route for this invoice and deal with the future invoices.
I agree. Let's do that.
So that would leave, so that's like 300, or
So
what's left? If we were to buy it out, what would be left after those two that are already budgeted?
About, those two are budgeted.
if we say it was 780 and he just said it's 100 and,
I thought it was 724 or something.
or
So,
724.
so what if for now we just take, you can figure out the math later, but like whatever that was, 780 minus this year's payment and next year's payment and all that, the difference, and maybe put that on the ARPA, like things to be thinking about, the
Okay.
list that you have. And then maybe next month we can try and make that just all those decisions at one time, because I know there's a bunch of them.
So it would be that balance, whatever, if it was 724 or whatever it is, minus whatever we pay for this year, minus what's on the budget for next year, that would be the remainder to potentially fund with ARPA.
Yes.
Okay,
And that would be done, the ARPA would be done, I would recommend in January anyway, because anything that is not spent out of all these requests has to again be an additional next year.
right.
It has to be reappropriated again because it's federal money.
We want to do
So,
Might be one of them on it. Yeah.
two, I'm fine
plus we
with
want to do it 2 months in a row.
Move the Monroe thing already.
Okay.
that.
I didn't mean to get us off track, but I wanted to make sure that got discussed if we had to do anything now to be correct, so, okay. Meeting dates. Oh, Joan, you have anything else here?
I do not have anything else, thank you.
We have one additional agenda item, which is approval of 2024 council meeting dates.
We had sent this out and it reflects what we did this year. It has 1 day for budget.
Budget hearings, yeah.
And your workshop meetings will be held prior to that, just like it was this year, so that the amount, you will know that amount at the public hearing. It will allow our office to do what it needs to do with DLGF. It'll work just like it did this year, which I felt like that worked pretty well.
Yeah. So, and I looked at that, I don't remember for sure, but everything was pretty much like it is, the same Tuesday of every month, except for the budget hearings, and I think there's one of them that's shifted to a Wednesday for that
Wednesday,
maybe
November
election?
12th.
election or something.
Veterans Day.
Veterans Day?
Tuesday would be Veterans.
Oh, okay, yeah,
And there's a Monday for the
budget
for the
hearing,
1 day
budget
that
hearing.
you meet with whoever you need to meet with, if any.
I make a motion to accept
It's
the,
resolution 2023-35.
that resolution for the 2024 council meeting dates.
One, I'll probably second that, but I guess real quick, I guess I'm gonna raise the question again. It's not that big of a deal, but I know we've talked about it a couple times over the years. Is there any interest in going to evenings so the public can actually be here for these? I know we've talked about it over and over, so I'm just gonna bring it up one more time and see if there's any appetite for that. I know that makes issues for employees coming, but I know this is what all the other cities, I think we're the only municipality that I'm aware of that does it during the day. So I just want to raise it again, not make a big issue out of it, but see what you guys think about that.
I do whatever everybody else wants to do personally.
I think Sheriff Dan made a valid point last year when it was discussed about being in the evening, that if his kids have sports or something like that, he won't be coming to these. And we heard that from some other department heads and so forth as well. So I'll just throw that out there. I thought that was a valid point last year.
It makes no difference to me because I don't have a full-time job like most of you do. And I also know how Dan feels, but that is just 1 day a month. It's not like we're having a meeting at nighttime every night. So I think whatever's best for those people who work.
Well, just to be clear, it's nothing to do with work. I mean, I at least am self-employed, so it doesn't, it's not about me work. It's about the public being
About the
able to
public
be
wanting
here
to
because
come in.
they work.
Yes,
That's the problem.
and I hear that.
But the other thing I'll throw out, and we've discussed this these past years too, if we have that in the evening, I will have to either, well, it would be overtime for anybody else, any department head that goes home that would have to come, or anybody that's here already during the day will have to make a special trip back, and in some cases, they might be paid, they might not, I don't know. It depends on what their thing is. I've just always been a proponent of leaving it how it has been for a variety of reasons, but we do have, the other thing I'll throw out there, the state passed a law, it's going to be a requirement to live stream these meetings. So if they're live streamed in real time, they're also recorded on YouTube. They're out there for anybody to see. And when they're live streamed, they can see it right at that moment. That's going to be another thing. And I think part of the reason that the state did that was for what you're talking about. A lot of Tuesdays or second Tuesdays that you guys meet, that's when the school boards meet. So if somebody has to make a decision whether or not to attend school board or whether or not to attend this meeting, that can be a potential issue as well. If Jim has to cover a school board and this meeting, he can't be at both. Eric, those are just some of the things that we've discussed on this every year and some of the reasons we've stayed with what we've done.
So I guess I would say let's leave them as proposed for now, but we said this last year and we really need to do it for the following year, or maybe even this year. Periodically, maybe a couple meetings a year, try to do them at night. I really think that's not a bad idea. Overall, stick to the schedule, but just on occasion, throw one or two a year in the evenings and, try to be strategic about that, I guess, to where.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I know
So,
we have had some evening meetings
Right.
that nobody showed up.
Is everybody good?
Yeah, all
with
the-
trying to do that?
No,
City council meetings, all the board meetings, I mean, there's people don't go unless it's a big issue.
unless there's something
And then
on the
they'll
line.
carve out personal time to make sure that they're there.
But to try it once or twice, like Fred is saying,
Yeah, that's,
as we go forward, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, just to say, okay, public, we will add this one and make it an evening one, and we'll see what happens.
That sounds like a good idea to me. Would you do that? I would think that would probably be one of the budget ones then, because that's really the main thing that we do. So either the public hearing or the adoption, either one. I guess it would make more sense to be the public hearing
The
one.
hearing, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we can make that decision when we get there, maybe.
We would just have to
Versus setting
advertise
one
it.
right now.
If you remember, we changed, once it was adopted, we advertised a different day that we were going to meet for the budget hearings. So it just has to be advertised with enough time in the papers that it's being changed to that time.
And I also personally think that the council should really meet after the commissioners, because like today, whatever they decide that they're going to pass on to us for information, they have to wait a whole week. And sometimes that doesn't work. Back before we both were on the same day, the commissioners were like on Monday and the council was on Tuesday. So anything that they needed right away from the council, they didn't have to wait a
And I
week.
know the commissioners still need to discuss and approve their meeting dates for the next year. That hasn't been done yet. If I remember correctly, Stan, it went from Monday to Tuesdays. That was when Doug was on there. I don't remember exactly why.
Well, I
You,
think it
Rex?
was real difficult for everybody to prep for the meeting coming in Monday, especially because I know your office, Tony, especially has a lot of prep work to do to get ready for our meeting. So I
Yeah.
think that's probably.
That's certainly going to be part of it because it does require,
I've always looked
Prep
at
work.
it too, like, in the years I sat on council and the commissioners also, I figure we're there for the benefit of the people that come to the meeting. And probably, 98% of the people that come are employees or department heads or people you know, that work for Adams County. And, you know, to Tony's point, if you bring them in the evening, you know, then it's either overtime or additional time for employees, whereas if we have them during the day, they're able to do it during business hours. Plus, if we need any support from IT or anybody else, you know, they're typically available during the day. So it just seemed to be more.
Lord knows I've had computer issues getting my computer working, and in the evening, that would be a problem.
But, you know, if you have hearings at night, if you have special issues or whatever, you know, that maybe the public would appreciate having a public hearing, especially on specific issues, you know, that might be a good idea.
And so these can be approved as is today, and we can still discuss as we go, and if you decide that you want to do the public hearing or whatever it is, and say, okay, let's advertise to make that an evening meeting to accommodate people, I mean,
Yeah, the budget hearing, the public.
That could still be
that would a
done.
good one, But for the most part, this day-to-day operational stuff, it's.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. If you have 12 meetings a year, 9 of them, no one's gonna care, you know, but you don't know which are the 3 that if they do care about, and then they don't have an opportunity. So that's,
If they do care, they can also, you know, it's tough, but
yeah.
you're gonna have to make time.
and that's what we did last year is we have to put into Gateway these dates. So we can do that and then later advertise and change it if we need to. We're still good to do that.
Okay, so motion to approve the dates as is, with the potential to change, adjust them here and there.
Second.
Ready, Bob? All those in favor of the,
That's good.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I had one question about that. Dan turned in overtime for his department. Are we up to date on our overtime claims by way of? Are we gonna get hit by the end of the year for all the overtime like we did once?
No, you have to get paid overtime as you, yeah. It gets paid on the payroll. That was because we went from comp time to overtime. We do pay out comp time hours for exempt employees at the end of the year, which are gonna be minimal. The way we want the policy.
The clerk used to accumulate some voting overtime hours, they would pay them all at once, but I think we changed that too, right?
Right, you get paid when you work, you get paid.
Myself.
Any other matters to be considered at this time?
Transfers.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I didn't think you did transfers yet. Come on.
Yeah, we did.
I don't know either. We
Just
just
snuck them in there.
We're done. I have one comment I'd like to make. In light of Saturday being Veterans Day, I will say to anybody in this room, to every county employee and every county resident, if you served in our military, fought for our country, thank you.
Any other matters? Entertain a motion for adjournment.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well done.